Dear students, today we will learn about the anatomy of digestive system. Digestive system is divided into complete digestive system and incomplete digestive system. Incomplete digestive system is the digestive system that starts with mouth and it doesn't end with either anus or cloaca, it ends blindly. Such a digestive system that ends blindly is called incomplete digestive system. And any digestive system that starts with mouth and ends with either anus or cloaca is called complete digestive system. The difference between anus and cloaca is the common chamber for undigested waste, excretory waste, and also for gametes, whereas anus is the passage that is exclusively meant for undigested waste materials. Digestion is also of two types, namely intercellular digestion, that is extracellular digestion, and intracellular digestion. Intracellular digestion is the digestion that is taking place within the cell, and intracellular digestion is very primitive mode of digestion. Normally intracellular digestion occurs in protozoa and sponges, whereas in mammals and also in human being, the digestion occurs within the lumen of the intestine. Hence, the digestion in the human being, because it is taking place outside the cell in the lumen of the intestine, it is called extracellular digestion. So intracellular digestion is primitive and extracellular digestion is highly advanced mode of nutrition. And this digestive system is also called fuel provider because it is supplying some sort of fuel in the form of energy. So it is called a life sustainer also, because without food the life can't be sustained, and food is digested within the digestive system. As a result, this digestive system is called energy provider and life sustainer. Now, the digestive system includes a long alimentary canal, which is nothing but digestive tract. It is also called gut, and digestive glands. So both digestive tract and digestive glands constitute digestive system. In case of protozoa, there is no separate digestive system. The digestion occurs within the cell inside a food vacuum. In case of porifera, again the digestion is intracellular and it occurs in choanocytes. In case of coelenterata, the digestion occurs in both extracellular and intracellular manner. In Hydra, the digestion first occurs within the gastrovascular cavity and later it is completed inside nutritive muscular cells. So we can say that coelenterates are the connecting link between extracellular digestion and intracellular digestion. And coming to platyhelminthes are saprozoic. They exhibit osmotrophic mode of nutrition because they are living inside the intestine where already the food is digested, and because they are depending on the digested food that is present in the gut of the host, there is no need for the presence of separate specialized digestive system in case of platyhelminthes. And full-fledged digestive system with associated digestive glands is found for the first time in Annelida. And in Arthropoda, there are different types of mouth parts and complete digestive system occurs. In mollusca also complete digestive system occurs. And it is true even in case of echinoderms. And coming to vertebrates, in all vertebrates there is a full-fledged digestive tract along with associated digestive glands. But the animals are classified into different categories depending on the food they take. Some animals are herbivores, they take only vegetarian food, and some animals are carnivores, they take only meat items, non-vegetarian food, because they happen to be the predators. And human being is omnivorous. The dental formula of human being includes nearly 4 types of teeth, namely incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. The presence of all the 4 types of teeth is an indication to confirm that man is omnivorous. If you compare the digestive tract of herbivorous animals with that of carnivorous animals, the alimentary canal or digestive tract of herbivorous animals is longer when compared to that of carnivorous animals, because herbivorous animals feed on cellulose, and cellulose is a very complex foodstuff. It requires much processing. So because cellulose is to be processed in a greater manner, the alimentary canal of herbivorous animals is longer when compared to that of carnivorous animals. Normally, any diet or any food includes proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, minerals, vitamins, and water. Proteins are called bodybuilders, whereas carbohydrates serve as immediate source of energy. Lipids or fats, they act as energy depots. That means fats store energy. This energy is stored in the specialized tissue called adipose tissue. So all these foodstuffs should be taken proportionately, and such food is called balanced diet. Balanced diet includes proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, minerals, vitamins, and water. Lipids provide greater quantities of energy, whereas carbohydrates and proteins provide almost equal calories of energy. Vitamins, they don't provide energy directly. The quantity of energy that is provided from the vitamins is zero, but they indirectly serve as source of energy. The vitamins are not the direct sources of energy, they are indirect sources of energy. If the protein intake is not up to the mark, that means if an individual is running short of proteins, but if his calorie intake is normal, that disease is called kwashiorkor. So kwashiorkor is a protein deficiency disorder. Whereas there is one more disorder called marasmus. This is protein calorie malnutrition. Nowadays, people are suffering from acidity, gastrointestinal disorders, and some sort of gastric trouble. And there is one bacteria called Helicobacter pylori, and this bacteria is responsible for peptic ulcers. So this is about the introduction of digestive system. And chemically, digestion is nothing but hydrolysis, and all the enzymes that are participating in the process of digestion are called hydrolases. And the digestion is a biochemical process. Proteins are broken down to amino acids, carbohydrates are broken down to monosaccharides, lipids are broken down to fatty acids, and glycerol. Let me define the process of digestion. Digestion is the conversion of physically bigger, non-soluble, non-diffusible, non-absorbable particles into physically smaller, soluble, diffusible, absorbable particles. And this requires a process called hydrolysis. So now any tract, any part of our body that accomplishes this can be called as digestive system. Thus, in human being, complete digestive system is found starting from mouth and ending with anus. Now let us see the various components, the various parts that are present in the digestive system. Let us concentrate on the anatomy of digestive tract. Digestive tract is a long tube and it is bigger than body. As a result, it is not straight. It is in a coiled position. It is in a twisted position. The first part of the digestive system is called mouth. Mouth is a slit that is present in the face, that is present on the lower side of the face. And in case of sharks, mouth is ventral. And in case of other mammals, mouth is a semilunar slit that is located at the tip of the snout. In case of human being, mouth is a slit in the face, below the nose. Mouth is guarded by jaws and also lips. Lips are nothing but fleshy muscular structures. These are also called labia. There is upper lip and lower lip. The space between teeth and lips is called vestibule. This is also called preoral cavity. And the space that is present inside the mouth is called oral cavity or buccal cavity. In case of a human being, buccal cavity is separate and pharyngeal cavity is separate, whereas in case of amphibians, because the neck is absent, due to the absence of neck, in case of amphibians, the buccal cavity and pharyngeal cavity are united, they are not separated. There it is referred to as buccopharyngeal cavity. Whereas in case of human being, buccal cavity is nothing but the oral cavity that is present on the back side of the teeth. So vestibule is the space that is present before the teeth and buccal cavity is the space that is present on the back side of the teeth. This oral cavity contains certain structures, namely palate, teeth, tongue and salivary glands. Palate is present on the roof of the buccal cavity and palate separates nasal passage from oral passage. Palate is a structure that separates respiratory passage from food passage. And this palate, which is nothing but the roof of the buccal cavity, is divided into hard palate and a soft palate. Hard palate is anterior and it includes skeletal element. And a hard palate shows certain foldings and these are called palatine rugae. Whereas soft palate, on the back side, it forms a fleshy structure that hangs down and that is called uvula. The advantage of palate is, palate no doubt separates respiratory passage from the food passage. That means it prevents the mixing of nasal contents with oral contents. And another advantage of the presence of palate is, because of the presence of palate, human being or mammals can chew and breathe simultaneously. Both mastication and breathing occurs simultaneously because of the presence of the palate. And palate also contains taste buds. Normally we will be asking, is food palatable? This phrase or this idiom is derived because of the fact that the palate contains the taste buds. Coming to the tongue. Tongue is a fleshy structure, muscular structure. It is called intrinsic muscle and it acts as a natural toothbrush. In case of human being, it contains 3 papillae that contains taste buds, namely circumvallate papillae, filiform papillae and fungiform papillae. Circumvallate, filiform and fungiform are the 3 types of taste papillae that are found on the tongue of human being. Whereas in case of other mammals, there is another set. In addition to these 3 sets, there is another set of taste papillae, namely foliate papillae. Foliate taste papillae are absent in human being. Now coming to the teeth. In case of human being and also in case of other mammals, the dentition is called thecodont dentition. Thecodont dentition is a dentition where teeth are embedded in the sockets of the jaws. Sockets of the jaw are called alveoli. Alveolus is singular. Alveolus is the socket that is present in the jaw inside which the teeth is deeply embedded. The tooth is deeply embedded. And any dentition that contains this teeth in an embedded manner, deeply embedded manner within the sockets of the jaw is called thecodont dentition. And two sets of teeth arise in the lifetime of mammals and also human being. This is called diphyodont dentition. During infancy, deciduous teeth are present. These are also called milk teeth. After infancy, permanent teeth are formed, and these are also called adult teeth. And because of the presence of four types of teeth, namely incisors, canines, premolars, and molars, the dentition in case of human being and majority of the mammals is called heterodont dentition. Incisors are the chisel-shaped teeth that are used for cutting the food, and canines are dagger-shaped teeth that are used for tearing the meat. Premolars and molars are called cheek teeth and they are responsible for chewing and mastication. Canines are greatly developed in case of carnivorous animals, and canines are absent in herbivorous animals like rabbit. The gap that is formed due to the absence of canines between incisors and premolars in case of herbivorous animals is called diastema. The teeth are ectomesodermal in origin. The tooth of a human being contains three parts, namely the part that is embedded within the sockets of the jaw. That part is called root, and the exposed part which is shining is called crown, and the crown and the root are connected by middle neck. And there are certain coverings called dentine, and this dentine is formed by odontoblast cells, and there is the strongest part, another covering called enamel, and this enamel is formed by amyloblast cells. And this odontoblast and amyloblast cells are functional only once. And this enamel is the strongest part of the human body. And dental formula is the formula that represents the number of teeth in the half of the upper jaw and also the half of the lower jaw. The numerator indicates the number of teeth in the upper half jaw and the denominator indicates the number of teeth in the lower half jaw. Like that, the dental formula of adult human being is 2123 by 2123. Whereas the dental formula of the infant who contains only milk dentition is 2102 by 2102. Adult human being contains 32 teeth, whereas infant child contains only 20 milk teeth. Premolars are not represented in milk dentition. This is about the teeth and its structure. And within the tooth, there is a cavity called pulp cavity, and this pulp cavity opens at the bottom through pulp pore. And if this pulp pore or if this pulp opening is wide, the teeth grow continuously. Such teeth that are growing continuously are called perineal teeth. Whereas in case of human being, the pulp opening is narrow, only limited nutrition is provided to the teeth. As a result, the teeth do not grow continuously throughout the lifetime in case of human being. Now coming to the salivary glands. There are three types of salivary glands present in human being. Whereas in other mammals, there are four pairs of salivary glands. Parotid glands are present below the pinnae. Sublingual glands are present below the tongue, and the submaxillary salivary glands are present at the corners of the jaws. Whereas in case of other mammals, there is one more additional pair of salivary glands, namely infraorbital glands. Infraorbital glands are absent in case of human beings. Salivary glands contain acini and they secrete salivary juice, and this process of secretion of saliva is called salivation. It is a conditioned reflex. And the next part of the digestive tract is pharynx. Pharynx is the common passage for food, air and water. Air should enter into the trachea. That means from pharynx, air should enter into the trachea, into the windpipe. Whereas water and food that are present inside the pharynx should reach the next part of the digestive tract, namely esophagus. And the food and water from pharynx enters into esophagus through one opening called gullet. Whereas the air enters into the trachea through glottis. The act of swallowing is technically called deglutition. Swallowing is nothing but the pushing of bolus into the pharynx by the tongue. If the bolus reaches the pharynx during the process of swallowing, the glottis is closed by one lid-like structure called epiglottis, and this epiglottis prevents the entry of food into the respiratory tract. Now, during swallowing, because the glottis is closed by the epiglottis, the food from pharynx invariably enters into the esophagus through gullet. Esophagus is a very long canal, very long pipe-like structure that runs throughout the thorax, and it exhibits certain wave-like rhythmic movements called peristalsis. And peristalsis is not gravity oriented, it is involuntary. As a result, one can swallow an apple even in an inverted condition. But don't try it for God's sake. But technically, one can swallow an apple even in an inverted condition because peristalsis is not gravity oriented, it is involuntary in nature. And esophagus is covered by mucus. And now esophagus, below the diaphragm, it opens into a chamber, into a J-shaped chamber called stomach. Stomach is divided into three chambers, namely cardiac stomach, fundic stomach and pyloric stomach. Cardiac stomach is the anterior part of the stomach into which the esophagus opens. The pore that is present between esophagus and the cardiac stomach is called cardia, and this is guarded by cardiac sphincter. Cardiac sphincter prevents the backward flow of food from stomach to the esophagus. Fundic stomach is the major part of the stomach that contains various cells called oxyntic cells, zymogen cells, mucus cells, etc., about which we will learn in the next video. They secrete various enzymes, hydrochloric acid and also mucus. And the pyloric stomach is the stomach that opens into the duodenum. The opening of the pyloric stomach into the duodenum is called pylorus, and it is guarded by another sphincter called pyloric sphincter. And the stomach exhibits certain movements called churning movements, and peristalsis continues even in this area. Peristalsis starts from esophagus and ends with rectum. The movements, mechanical movements that are exhibited by the stomach are called churning movements. The environment within the stomach is acidic due to the presence of hydrochloric acid. Now the J-shaped stomach opens into the small intestine. Small intestine in case of human being contains three parts, namely anterior duodenum, that is highly coiled and that contains Brunner's glands, followed by middle jejunum and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum and ileum, all these three constitute small intestine, and small intestine is the longest part of the digestive tract. But it is named small intestine because of its less diameter, because of its small diameter it is named as small intestine. And into the duodenum, bile juice is secreted, pancreatic juice is secreted, and small intestine is followed by large intestine. Large intestine contains three parts again, namely cecum, colon and rectum. Cecum is useful for microbial digestion and cellulose digestion in case of herbivorous animals, whereas in case of human being, cellulose cannot be digested. And this cecum ends as vermiform appendix, which is a vestigial organ in human being, and it is functional in other mammals, other herbivorous mammals. Sometimes in case of human being, no doubt it is vestigial, it doesn't perform any function, but sometimes in human being it is infected and it results in appendicitis. In such cases, this appendix should be removed, and this removal of appendix, this surgical removal of appendix is called appendectomy. Appendix is also called abdominal tonsils. And in case of pharynx, there are certain lymphoid structures called tonsils and also adenoids that are present nearer to the pharynx. Pharyngeal tonsils are called adenoids. Now again, let us come back to the small intestine and large intestine. Small intestine contains three parts, namely duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Ileum shows certain finger-like projections called microvilli, and in this microvilli there is a blood vessel and also lymph vessel. Lymph vessel is called lacteal. And in the ileum there are certain cells called crypts of Lieberkühn, and these crypts of Lieberkühn secrete intestinal juice, and this intestinal juice is called saccus entericus, and it contains all the enzymes that digest proteins, carbohydrates and lipids. And coming to the large intestine, again we have seen the appendix, which is nothing but abdominal tonsils, and it is also vestigial in nature. And colon and rectum stores undigested waste materials for some time, and in rectum the water is reabsorbed so that stools get little bit solidified, and this rectum opens out through anal opening, and this anal opening is guarded by two sphincters, namely internal sphincter and external sphincter. Internal sphincter is involuntary, it's made up of smooth muscles, whereas external sphincter is voluntary and it is made up of striped muscle. So this is about the digestive tract in the human being that starts with mouth and ends with the anus. In next video we can learn about the functions of various digestive glands, and in another video we'll learn about the process of digestion, the physiology of digestion. So in this video we have seen only the anatomy of digestion. Thank you very much. Good luck.